In this section of the show, we're going to be talking about Zohran Mamdani's recent victory in the New York City mayoral election. He beat out the independent candidate Andrew Cuomo. The self-described Democratic Socialist won 1 million votes with 50% of the electorate. Quite extraordinary. And joining me now to discuss this is Mothin Ali, the co-deputy leader of the Green Party. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing, first of all?
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. This is significant, isn't it? Because I think listeners will agree. It feels like for the last year, we who are of the sort of on the left of the centre have been hearing that the right is winning the conversation. They're winning the argument, and you only have to look across the Atlantic to see Donald Trump's re-election, to look at what's happening in Europe, to think that could be true. But actually, Zohran winning NYC on a positive, progressive platform against all odds, beating Andrew Cuomo, having this huge impact on social media, this is significant, isn't it?
To be honest with you, I think it's absolutely massive. I think there's been a political earthquake, and we're going to feel the shockwaves across the world because for so long, just as you've described, we've had the rise of the right. Donald Trump in America, we've had the rise of the far right across Europe, and now we've got Farage and Reform rising in the UK. And for too long, our mainstream political parties have just echoed that to try and keep up with that narrative. And I think that's created a kind of a vacuum where people who come forward, who actually talk to the masses, who talk about the problems of inequality, who talk about the problems that the ordinary person is facing, day-to-day living issues, that really resonates. So when Zohran has come along and he started speaking in a way, really excellent communication style, really excellent way of getting that message across in a really simple, easy to understand, punchy way. It's been really effective. Um, but just the communication on its own doesn't work. It has to have the right policies. And finally, we've got that breakthrough in America, and I think we're doing the same thing in the Green Party. Zach is doing an absolutely fantastic job of communicating our policies and talking to people on a level that resonates.
Several Labour politicians on social media have been touting Mamdani's campaign as a potential blueprint now for how Labour could win re-election. Do you agree with that? Do you think that Mamdani's victory is reminiscent of the Labour Party in its current form?
I think the two are at complete opposite ends. I think I saw something from Wes Streeting claiming to be or have similarities with Mamdani, and I couldn't think of two people who were at the polar opposites.
So someone said Wes Streeting and Mamdani were similar, did they?
I saw something like that. I think it was from Wes Streeting himself, and I was like, you couldn't have polar opposites if you tried. But the way the Labour Party, it can't just be about messaging, and the way the Labour Party have gone. I mean, we've had rhetoric from them echoing the likes of Enoch Powell, like Island of Strangers, for example. If we're going to talk about those kind of divisive issues, and we're not going to give hope to people, and we're not going to build unity in society, which is the message of Mamdani, which is the message that we're trying to deliver. As the Green Party, we're trying to deliver that message of hope and unity and social cohesion and build the social fabric again. Now, that's what Labour used to stand for. I think the current iteration of it is completely at odds with what the traditional values were.
And of course, the other significant thing about Mamdani's victory, not just that he won on a progressive platform in a city that, let's be frank, works on power and money, right? New York City is well known for that. But also that he's a Muslim. I mean, that is significant at a time where we have increasing Islamophobia being weaponized by not just the far right, the radical right, the populist right across the globe. What do you think this tells us actually about the way the way politicians have been stoking fears around Muslim people, and actually maybe that isn't where the electorate or people are. I mean, this doesn't, what I'm saying is Mamdani's victory does not stack up with everything we're being told about how people are feeling about Muslims or the progressive left.
There's a lot to unpack in that question. Now, racism, Islamophobia, these kind of things are always pushed top down in society. We have politicians, we have oligarchs, billionaires, media barons pushing a message of division, and they filter that down and try and affect the mindset of the ordinary person. But one of the things that Mamdani was really effective at was having cut through, so he could bypass that narrative and talk to people on a level. And I'll give you my example in Gipton and Harehills when I won in 2024 in the council elections. Now, Gipton is a large council estate. It's ripe for reform. It's ripe territory. It's that kind of place that would go for reform. But what I see on the doorstep when I knock on doors is people are just fed up with the two-party system. They feel ignored. They feel let down. They're looking for something to hope. They're looking for hope. They're looking for something alternative. And when reform are the only guys around, the only show in town, then that's the alternative. So we've got to provide a real credible alternative to the mainstream parties, the parties that have failed us time and time again. So what I keep just reminding everyone is I won every single ballot box. I've got a big beard on my face. I dress in traditional Islamic clothing when I'm out and about. But that doesn't bother people on the doorstep. What bothers them is they want to see someone who cares enough to come and knock on their door, first of all, who cares enough to listen to their problems and try and do something about it. That's what people want. We have to be people who are ready to try and change the material lives of others. And if we can't do that, then it doesn't matter how slick your media is and how fancy your videography is or your messaging is. If we can't connect with the ordinary voter, I think we're missing it. We're missing something massive. We can't just be a performance over substance. We have to have substance.
One Labour MP who hasn't been on the Zohran hype train is Luke Akehurst, who tweeted that he had no desire to be associated with Mamdani at all. He said the politics that appeals to NYC would go down like a cup of cold sick in the US Rust Belt states or in the UK equivalents like North Durham. What's your response to that? Does he have a point?
I don't think so. I think Luke Akehurst was airdropped into that constituency. He was someone who was imposed on the people of Durham rather than selected by the people of Durham. And when someone who is so committed to an ideology such as Zionism, and he's a Labour friend of Israel. When he sees someone who's openly against genocide, someone who's talking about justice and standing up for ordinary people rather than standing up for genocide, I think he will have something to say and something to be upset about because it challenges his very mindset.
Another group who will be looking for lessons from Zohran, aside from the Greens and Labour, will likely be Corbyn and Sultana's, your party. Do you think they'll have different takeaways from Mamdani's victory than yourself?
With Corbyn, with Zara Sultana, I respect those guys. They were trying to do something that will help people. What is going to end up out of your party, I have no idea where it's going to end up. If they can take lessons and if they can stick by the principles that they're talking about, then hopefully something good will happen. We'll have another strong force on the left. But we just have to. It's too early to comment on what lessons they're going to learn because we don't even know their form at the moment.
And obviously with Mamdani's win, it kind of is a double-edged sword because on the one hand, it is a victory for the progressive left, but on the other hand, there is now a lot of pressure on Mamdani to deliver. And it's not just Donald Trump in the White House who is frothing at the mouth to make life as difficult for Mamdani as possible. It is also the right-wing media ecosystem that will be jumping on him. But there will also be a lot of pressure from the left to see Mamdani be successful. And New York is a big beast. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to understand the politics and the way New York functions inside out, but it's likely that things will go wrong. Are you worried that if Mamdani fails, if his project can't get off the ground, if he encounters all the kind of usual issues with that city and isn't able to make tangible differences, that this could set the progressive left back?
I think we've got to let him have a go. You know, he's led the way so far. He's broken through against all odds. I think he will face significant challenges. I think he's up to the challenges, and I think if he can get the right team around him, they can really do some good for a lot of ordinary people.
Mm.
But but if anything doesn't go exactly to plan, I don't think it should set us back because we've got to take those where it hasn't worked out. We've got to take that and we've got to use that as a blueprint and fix our strategies and what we're going to do because we have to I keep calling it the resistance at the moment because it feels like we're up against the or an organized right wing that is really strong. It's got its hand in all the sort of political infrastructure, and we're the resistance trying to fight for ordinary people. So any lessons that we can learn from any obstacles they face, that's going to just make us stronger, and we've got to be prepared to adapt to that.
Zach Polanski recently said that 30 to 40 seats for the Greens was unambitious, but this would radically change our politics. How many seats do you think the Greens can win at the next election?
See, I always, whenever someone puts a number on something, they're always going to get proved wrong somehow. So I was asked this not so long ago, and I thought we could win well over 50 seats. I still feel that, but the way things are going and the way we're as a party we're growing, and where we've really found our voice now. You know, we're resonating with ordinary people. We're connecting with beyond legacy media. We're finding a cut through. We found our niche. I think we could do well beyond that. So I think 50 seats is a reasonable target, but I think we could do well beyond that.
Exciting.
And I don't want to set a bar.
No, that's okay. I'm not going to hold you to any numbers. Don't worry, because I'm always proved wrong about things myself. Last week we had Clive Lewis on the show, who is kind of famously of the left of the Labour Party, long time standing MP. He said he would hypothetically consider joining the Green Party. What is your message to MPs in other parties who might be considering going green?
So I was a Labour member for a long time. I joined the Labour Party when I was 18 through the Unite Union. And I was an activist. I was campaigning for Labour MPs. I campaigned for, Richard Bergen. So I'm very much on the left of that movement. But I couldn't stay in the Labour Party because it wasn't the party that I grew up with. It wasn't the party that my father grew up with. So when and I hear this argument from Labour politicians so often, Labour activists, is we're going to try and change it from inside. We're going to try and change it and turn it into something. We're going to try and influence decisions. And they've been saying that all of my life. And I've never seen a ray of hope. We had that one glimmer of hope with Jeremy Corbyn, but I think the Labour machinery put that out very quickly. And I think those MPs on the left, those activists, those councillors on the left, will really struggle to make changes that they really want. And right now in the Greens, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to build something absolutely amazing. We've got we're We're growing rapidly. You know, our membership is the third biggest. I think within the next year we could take over Reform in terms of our membership, and the next election is very much going to be about the Greens versus Reform. I think the Labour Party will splinter. There'll be very little space left for those politicians on the left. I think they'll really struggle to find their voice again. But we're in the Green Party, we're giving that voice, we're giving opportunities. So stop hanging around and dreaming of making change. We're already the change. Come and join us and help us deliver that change.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mothin Ali, co-deputy leader of the Green Party. Thank you for joining us today. That was fantastic. Really enjoyed speaking to you.
Very much for having me.
So much to digest there. For me, I think Mamdani's victory has been just so consequential, and it really does feel like a glimmer of hope. But my worry is that there is going to be so much machinery standing in his way in New York that we just have such a rigged media ecosystem. We have Donald Trump in the White House threatening to cut off funding to New York because of Mamdani's political inclinations and the fact he likes to wind Donald Trump up. And I'm just so worried that he is going to be held to a unfair standard, and it's going to allow people to shit on the left even more. But absolutely, I stand behind Mamdani, and I think he is a fantastic orator. And that is it from Politics Uncensored today. Join us next Thursday at 5 p.m. where we unwrap the week's political talking points. Of course, you can stay up to date with the show by following at Politics Uncensored on UK on social media. And you can find me at Zoe Grunewald. And if you're wondering where Ali is this week, he was actually with Mamdani. So, you know, he knows far more about this than I do. But anyway, and if you've missed any of today's show, you can listen back and catch up on FUBARradio.com or via the FUBAR Radio app. Thank you so much for listening.